Okay, sensory systems. Olfactory is the sense of smell. We use smell for arousal, hence smelling salt, things like that. Smelling is very connected to our life. You know, certain smells, associations can influence how we think about things, what we do about things. The other day I gave my great niece a big hug, and I laid down my jacket, and she picked up my jacket and she goes, smells like Aunt Sylvia, because it had a little perfume on it left. So I thought that was a lovely reaction. I like that a lot. But associations really influence how we feel about different things. So we have to evaluate the environment for smells. If we have an overreaction to smells, we may want to abstain from perfume and lotions, and I am certainly one of those that hates to be in an elevator with overwhelming perfume. Be aware of smells that accompany some learning experiences, such as markers and stickers and Play-Doh, and all of those things have smells. You may want to ask the student about smells, which ones are pleasant or unpleasant. I'm always amazed at the smelling capabilities of some of the children that I know. I have one little friend named Chelsea, and I have some lotion that I put on that's vanilla lotion. And the minute I walked in the door, this one time I had just put it on, but it didn't really smell all that much. And she goes, "Oh, vanilla crackers," or vanilla wafers, immediately. So she really was very tuned in, and that was a pleasant smell, luckily. But when I work with children with autism, I typically don't wear perfume at all, or lotion, or at least not any with any great smell. Underreaction, that child may seek smells. Remember, they're trying to get their brain to register something. So that results in a lot of unusual sniffing behavior. The gustatory sense is our sense of taste, and the receptors are on our tongue. It is also related to arousal. That's why when we're in a long lecture or in service, people will put candy out, because if you taste something, a different kind of taste, it'll arouse you and make you more awake. But you can acquire taste, as in some liquors like gin that really taste terrible to begin with, or coffee, which doesn't taste too great, but after a while you really like it. And we're certainly influenced by smell, because what is smell but small particles of whatever we're smelling? Children with ASD often have strong avoidance of food preferences. Some children with autism only eat 4 or 5 things. Trouble with medicine. Not wanting the taste or the texture in their mouth. I have one child who will only eat flat foods. Not sure why that is, but he has a good reason for it in his mind, or whatever his brain tells him to make sense of the world. If you have a seeker, you may have someone who seeks out more stimulation by eating things that aren't edible, such as sand or sticks or grass, or they may prefer cayenne pepper or very spicy things. I have one little boy who's always trying to get things out of the freezer to stick it to their tongue because he wants more information. Tactile systems. The touch is the first sensory system in utero. It's very calming for infants. It's calming for us. Think what we do. We go for a massage when we want to be calmed. And it's related to well-being. You know, we all feel better after a good hug, don't we? It's the largest sense organ in our body, and different parts of our body have different amounts of sensors. So our fingertips, our palms, and our mouth have dense receptors, where our abdomen and our back have less receptors. And we certainly have protective sensations that are found in these receptors. So if a bug bites us, we know to pull away. My daughter's dog just the other day laid down in a bed of red ants and did not get up. But this dog also doesn't seem to feel pain as much as our other dogs do. So this person would be a seeker of stimulation because they don't register temperature or bugs or heat in the same way. Heat is temperature, but you know what I mean. Seeking, rubbing palms all over things, mouthing things, and generally trying to get more information about touch. Defensiveness, don't touch me, oh my goodness, don't like tags, don't like getting dirty, don't like writing, don't like a lot of different foods. And some children have both. They may not like touch, a light touch, but they may like a firm touch, and they seek a firm touch. So you can have different kinds of tactile systems going on at the same time. Your vestibular sense is your sense of balance, sense of gravity. Do you know what gravity does to your body? Do you understand movement and how gravity works with your body? Not in a theoretical sense, of course, but in regards to movement. Helps you maintain posture in a stable visual field. Remember, when you're looking, our brain naturally wants our eyes even across what we're looking at, and sometimes they'll cock their head to look, and that's all part of the vestibular sense. And most of us will do what we need to do to get the required vestibular input. So if we are trying to look at something, we'll cock our head so we can get the right visual field. Our receptors for the vestibular sense are in the inner ear. So if we have an responder to vestibular information, these are kids who cannot spin, twirl enough. They love to rock, they love to spin, they're seeking it all the time. Or if you're over, they get car sick really easy. I had one child who would throw up every time their mother backed the car out, and this poor mom ended up going to such unusual lengths to never go backwards. She would go around a million ways so she could always drive forward. So they have trouble with changing speed or direction easily. They don't want their feet to leave the ground, so climbing on a slide or doing normal play kinds of things might be hard. They may trip easily if there's an incline. Those kind of kids just aren't getting enough information about the relationship of gravity to the world and their system. The proprioceptive sense. We get a sense of direction or velocity of movement. I referred to it a little bit before, but what our muscles feel, it determines pressure or effort. So for instance, not that I would ever go to a bar, but if a bar I know switched from glass mugs to plastic mugs, the way I would know not to throw the mug over my head because I was expecting a heavier mug would be by my proprioceptive sense. So tension is needed. There's receptors in the muscles, the joints, and the skin, especially in the jaw. And we need we get this through active movement. So the more we move, the more we go, the more information our body scheme and movement planning has. So we get a firm map of how our body is in space and how it moves in relationship to objects and other people, things like that. If you have poor proprioception, you're liable to have very poor posture, bump into things all the time, have trouble navigating.